Guys, welcome to my channel. Welcome back to my channel. If you're returning to my channel, you know what's up. For those of you who don't know, just to give you guys a setup, I went to a private school. So I started off going to like a private preschool daycare. I think it was more of a preschool type thing, but that was a whole different school. Then I went to a private school that was pre-K through 12th, and I ended up graduating from there. And then I ended up going to a private college, which makes me sound so snobby. And I just want to say I have no problem at all with people who went to public school because, you know, certain areas public schools are great. Sometimes that's the only option. Sometimes I just personally enjoy that more. And I know that I was lucky to have this route of going private. So but I think it kind of gives perspective, like as you hear my timeline, to picture it, that it is a private school, no uniforms, diverse, like they purposely care about making it diverse, freedom of religion. There was still a dress code, but they ended up kind of breaking that down after I graduated because they felt like it was sexist. So props to them. They're very liberal, very progressive. And so of course they're always going to conferences and seeing how they can do better. We do have, so the school was at Green Hill. Our main competition was St. Mark's and Hockaday. But again, they kind of have a very rigorous structure to them. And one is an all-boys school, one is all-girls school. They both wear uniforms. So it's really based on like the parents and students' preferences. So it was the summer before freshman year, I got a Facebook. Based on the pictures that I would post that were just so dorky, and I share a lot of that actually on my Patreon page, you can tell that I probably wasn't mature enough to have a Facebook. It's really sad. I remember I loved to dress in Abby Dawn clothing, which was sold at Kohl's. I don't know where they sell it now because I think she still has her clothing brand there. So here are some pictures of Abby Dawn clothing, and as you can see, it's very punk rock, edgy, lots of blacks and grays, a little doom and gloom. However, though, there's colors involved in it. And so what that was considered scene. And scene was definitely a genre that Hot Topic sold, but I didn't really shop there, but my friends did. I remember my friend group, though, would make fun of me because they were like, why are you dressing scene? Like, you don't listen to that music, blah, blah, blah. Because I love to listen to pop, and I'm still to this day like, I love cutesy pop. But then I was like telling them, well, when you think about it, I do listen to Avril Lavigne, and this is her clothing line. So it really just makes perfect sense. I remember too, like I always had Converse. I had like a periwinkle Converse that I loved. They were high tops. I don't know if I still have them. Let me check to see if I do. Oh man, I don't, but they were like high tops, periwinkle, they had glitter on them, and I felt so cute and chic in those. And then I remember we were in the cafeteria and the lower school kids came in, and there was a girl wearing the exact same Converse that I had. So I was like, oh, that's embarrassing. Then I remember I always straightened my hair, and I had side bangs. Like, I think I have a picture here, like this. Like, and this was one of my Facebook profile pictures. And this is when I believe PicMonkey was, did I use PicMonkey? So that was a website that was free for you to add all these stickers and effects to your picture. And it was considered so MySpace, which was hard because Facebook had such, like, Facebook only overlapped MySpace a little bit. But my neighbor friend, she had a MySpace, and so I was heavily influenced by that. But it just doesn't stick. Like, I look dorky on Facebook. So I remember too, I didn't know how to wear makeup, but one thing I did know is to put on eyeliner. And I was obsessed with colored eyeliner. But this was the time when Kesha and Lady Gaga were making their debut. Nicki Minaj was all about bright colors. People accepted neons and prints and wacky matches and just something that was thrown at you. Like, just throw glitter at people, you know? I was all about that, like glitter nails. I had like this electric blue eyeliner. That was my favorite. I dabbled in yellow, which looked a little funky. Then I dabbled in like a red or like this fuchsia, and it made me look like I was evil or had pink eye. Still did it though, but that was on special occasions. So I think I remember clearly that I talked about how the first day of 8th grade I got my period. And usually when you do get your period, you can be very irregular for a long time. I didn't really start like getting my period monthly until freshman year of high school. And I thought with that, I would kind of grow bigger boobs. I was a 32A and I was just so flat. Like even my bras, I tried to always have padded. I try my best to have push up, but that's kind of hard to find because there's not a lot to push up. I remember like big butts were not a thing. Like some people liked big butts, but it wasn't as glamorized because there wasn't that wave of like Instagram and the other platforms throwing it in your face. And Facebook at the time too wasn't connected to a lot of businesses. So it was just a social platform. So the only thing I compared myself was to girls my age, but they were all developing. I remember everybody had these True Religion jeans and their butts looked so good in them. And I was so confused why every pair of jeans I owned looked so bad on me. Like I hated wearing jeans. Like for years and years I hated wearing jeans because it made my butt look so flat and I was always tugging on them, like nothing was holding them. At the time, of course, high-rise jeans were not a thing. It was always mid or low rise. I was so self-conscious. I remember that I did not like doing anything by myself. I always wanted somebody to, if you're walking to class and it's in the same direction, you're coming with me. I would try to savor like every second to be seen walking with somebody. I don't know. I was really self-conscious. I was self-conscious of how my face looked in a daydream and like, of course, my face shape, which I have talked about in another video. I have a weird walk because I'm flat-footed and my ankles turn in, but they don't turn in symmetrical. So sometimes it looks like I'm limping when I'm not, and I don't even know when I'm doing it. I've just had people ask me like, what's wrong? Why are you limping? And that just makes me self-conscious that like I have a limp. So I was definitely like all-time low. Like again, like how I do my self-esteem meter sometimes. I'm again at the floor off camera. You cannot see me. So that sucks. Sorry, I'm looking over here because I have some notes because I'm trying my best to do everything in order to help you guys understand. So I tried my best to be flirty and fun to guys, and a lot of it was just me, I'd watch how girls flirted on TV. There was Hannah Montana, there was Lizzie McGuire, and I just always soaked that in. But you wouldn't really see me actively talking to a guy unless he was the same social status as me, and usually I wasn't attracted to those guys. Because again, like I valued popularity. So the first season that came around was field hockey. I did that in 7th and 8th grade. And I remember when I joined, this was the highlight of my field hockey career because I was really field smart. And so they actually called me like the MVP of JV. And so I just assumed like varsity was going to happen. Like you get called the MVP, you're just only going up from there. However, because of my flat feet, I just couldn't run fast, and cardio was a challenge because I couldn't keep up breathing, and then my ankles were in turn like rolled ankles, and it was just a hard time. And after I got that compliment, I started overthinking how I played on the field. So my school, instead of semesters, had trimesters. So that meant it was broken down into 3 sections, which kind of helped because you had 3 different sports seasons. So during those first few months, I fell in love right away with the junior class. There was like 5 or 10 junior boys that I was in love with, like crazy in love. And I remember like sometimes I'd follow them around, or I ended up like showing up where they were. It was a small enough school. Like I guess it would sound stalkerish, but literally like who hasn't done this? Like even Kesha and her songs is like, I will stalk you, I love you. Like, and I wasn't like being all that weird. I just kind of knew which way they were going to be walking to. So I just happened to be around there to say hi if my outfit looked really cute. My eyeliner was on point and my Abby Dawn punk pixie look. So I was pleasantly surprised when I found out that those juniors signed up for swim team. And I remember I wasn't able to make it, I think because of field hockey or something. We had like a transition week where it's just easy practices with the coaches observing you. Now in other sports, they're pretty much picking out varsity and JV and like where the line is, like in cutoffs. With swimming, if you joined, you were automatically on the team. You were automatically considered varsity, but you weren't guaranteed to letter for that year. So I come in and I am put in the slowest lane, and I think that they're kind of shaking their head because they know like I am so many days behind in this practice. I get in the water because I have club experience, and I just I think we were 9 girls freshman year, and we placed second in SPC. First place was Hockaday, and they had 30 girls. So to me, that says something. I was like, we held our own, and not all of us were club swimmers, and I wasn't. I was a former club swimmer, but it had been years till I'd done club. And I remember because of how it was, I was able to be in a lot of A relays, or I was a leader in a B relay. I did 50 freestyle. I'm trying to think if that was the year they tried to dabble in breaststroke, but that didn't do well for me. But I think I did butterfly, and that exhausted me. I don't think I have the best form with butterfly either. And if your form is bad, you're gonna get tired like that. So if I remember right, it was just during the relays where I had to do a 50, gave it my all, and was just like a breached whale at the end of it, like huffing and puffing. Okay, so by this time, when I was playing field hockey, we had the homecoming dance. I had a date. And then during swimming, there was Sadie Hawkins, and I had a date to that. Now, underclassmen could not go to prom, and I didn't know enough upperclassmen. Like, none of them were asking me, so I only went to 2 dances that year. But I was so happy I had a date for them. So the first dance, this new boy asked me, and I remember he came to my door with flowers, and then he had a shirt. And of course I opened up in front of him, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'll go to homecoming with you. And it was like, asking me like, will you go to homecoming with me? And you circle yes or no. So I show up to school the next day circling yes, and everybody thought that I asked him. And I was like, that's nothing against him, but that humiliated me because my self-esteem wasn't good enough for that. I was so embarrassed because people thought I came to school with a shirt asking a boy. I was like, oh. So then, I don't know, I just kind of got nervous. Like, I felt like he liked me, and I was too nervous about any of that. Like, I hadn't even gotten my first kiss yet, so I was like, I was freaking out. And when we were slow dancing, I remember he said something like, I've never been on a date before with a girl. And that just, again, like, I was too freaked out. I hid in the bathroom most of the times. I'm not for sure if he knew I was really hiding or if I was just being a girl and needing to check everything. But I was scared to go out there, and it didn't help that I had my pathological lying friend whispering in my ear, and sometimes she would say things that would just make things worse. So there's like that toxic element, like whispering me, like she was whispering sweet bad things in my ear. And then for Sadie Hawkins, I asked one of my best guy friends, and we're still friends, but he is in another state, and it gets harder for us to catch up because he doesn't routinely come back here to Dallas to visit unless over the holidays to like eat Thanksgiving dinner with his family and then go back. Another thing in general though, like I kind of brought up, that I was really flat-chested, so it was really hard to go dress shopping. I had the same experience when I was shopping for dresses at bar mitzvahs, but now I'm like looking around the crowd, and these girls are developed, so they're able to wear strapless bras and have all this cleavage, and I remember crying in the dressing room. The crying in the dressing room happened a lot, like throughout high school. And it's always, of course, about like having the shortest, skimpiest dress. Like it was like a subtle competition that nobody spoke about, but they spoke about. But then if somebody had the sluttiest dress, you'd kind of talk bad about them. Now I think we're all more mature than that, and I think high schools are more self-aware, but that's just how it was in my day and age. So I remember French was still a big struggle for me, even though I was diagnosed with a language disorder, and that brought clarity, and I then had extended times on exams. Still, like, I was able to then keep up with any type of written exam and like homework. Still, when a French teacher would say something to me, even if she said it slower, it literally sounded like blah, 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 blah. And to this day, like up until like ending my French career after 10 years, it still sounded like blah, 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 blah. But on the last year, it got a little better. We'll talk on that later. Now, I remember everybody blew their money at the cafeteria breakfast or the Buzz, which was a shop that sold Green Hill merchandise. But I remember they had fresh baked cookies, they had candy. And that was just kind of a place like after school, it's like, let's go to the Buzz. And I remember my friend Matthew would always have gummies and I'd be like, can I have a gummy? Like, can I have another gummy? Like eating like everybody's food. And then sometimes like I would save up my money. It's like if I had $5, I'd be like, this is going to some type of concession stand at a football game, or it's going to the Buzz. So that was really funny. I think this is when the time happened. So going into the private school, I had a lot of money. My parents did. And so I was able to pay every tuition bill in full. And then things changed when there was the divorce. And I remember my mom was asking them, like, what do I do? I'm here to unenroll my kids, because she wasn't really aware of financial aid. But we got a financial aid package that was doable. And I actually thought that if breakfast was included in my deal, or I had some confusion there. So I was, getting breakfast and plugging in my number, but I was racking up a charge. And I remember somebody called my mom from Green Hill. They were so nice, and they were asking about that. My mom's like, oh, like, I'll have to let her know, like, about breakfast is an extra charge. And then the lady was like, well, if she's hungry, I think she needs to be, eating the breakfast. So why don't I arrange your financial aid package that includes a portion of money to go towards breakfast? My mom was like, okay. So, these are getting kind of funny. Okay, so we had an English teacher, and I remember she ran the Evergreen, which was the school newspaper, and she always gave, like, different opportunities of extra credit for those students, but nobody else. So I remember we had this daily reading quiz, and I don't know what it was on, like Oedipus or something. And I remember I had to list 2 physical features of this monster. And I listed claws, and I got a point for that. And then the other answer I gave was something like what he was like personality-wise as a creature. And I got points deducted because it wasn't a physical trait. Then I looked over at my friend, my past Sadie Hawkins date, and I look at his thing, and like both of his answers for that 2-part question had no physical trait about it. I remember it was like, he hated laughter. And I remember she gave him full credit. And I was like, what the, and then he's like, yeah, it's been this way all year. Oh, this one is the best. So we had a wellness teacher. I'm not for sure if he is still there. And that was something that every freshman student had to take. And I remember we had to ask questions, and somebody like put in the question box about sex changing after pregnancy. And he was saying, I mean, I don't know, I guess everybody's different, but I will tell you that I talked to one of my guy friends, and he said after his wife gave birth that sex wasn't the same. And all of us female students were horrified that pregnancy was just going to permanently rip our vaginas and tear them up to a point where they will no longer heal or go back to normal. Like, can we still use tampons after this, or are they just going to fall out? Then this happened, but I wasn't there, so I'm so mad. But apparently one of the female math teachers walked in the room during one of his wellness lectures, because she had to go to the cabinet to restock on staplers or something like that. And he's like, "Oh, Miss Perfect timing. What kind of birth control do you use?" And I don't think she answered. I can't remember if she was polite or rude about it, but right after that, she marched straight to the dean's office and got him reported. I loved video production, it was my goal. Again, like I said, this is when Lady Gaga and Kesha were making their debuts, and I was in love with music videos. I wanted to be a music video director, but also editor, producer. I wanted to do the whole shindig, which is probably why I love YouTube, because you get to do the whole, everything. And so that is when I released my music video, The Tide is High, and that got some traction. because of the school newspaper Evergreen, because they were just chilling out after school, like stalking people on the internet. But I was also obsessed with the video production classes. The teacher was so coolio. When I visit campus, I need to say hi to him more. I'm kind of bad about that. I love that teacher so much that when my brother passed away, my immediate instinct was to call him. And I'm thinking that must have made him really thrown off, really uncomfortable, but he was great. He was just nice. And I don't know, I just wanted to call him. And I think since that moment, and then the fact that like I had such a rough college experience, I kind of shied away from a lot of teachers, and I'm trying to get back into it. But it's also hard because I idolize them so much. It's like, you never want to disappoint your role model, which is weird. But he was the one video production guy on campus, and he was really, open. He was all like, if you want to do something weird, do something weird. Let your creativity soar. But I will tell you that a lot of students took advantage of that. And I remember one kid, he wasn't thinking, and it wasn't anything inappropriate, but he wanted to film in a bathroom, and he liked the look of like the lower school or middle school bathroom, and it was a high school boy. So he wanted to film a scene in there, and it wasn't sexual, nothing like that. But then a student walks in and sees this upperclassman guy with a camera. So that was a whole lecture in itself. I don't think he even got suspended because his intent was pure. He just needed a really good lecture. But I remember the film teacher was like, why do you do this to me? Or like the time he made a prompt of like what you would do if you were stuck in a room for 24 hours and half the male students did stuff about touching themselves. And again, the teacher was like, why do you do this to me? Because mini school was coming up. And that's usually like after it's been, after the school year has started and you're like 12 weeks in or something like that. One night, parents come in and they follow the kids' schedule and they meet with all their teachers. And the teachers need to talk about what they've done in film. They like to see some of their work. And so there my film teacher was like trying his best to scrape from the bottom of the barrel, trying to find suitable, appropriate content to show off. So that's that in a nutshell. We're almost done though. So pretty much I got A's and B's in school, but I always get a C+ in social studies. Too much information. I don't think it was my strong suit, and I'm blaming my language disorder here, okay? French, I usually didn't get C's, but I could sometimes get a B- in that. And then my health was overall good. From what I remember, I was excelling in sports, especially in swimming, you notice, because you have to try to beat your times, and I was beating my times at swim meets, so, all new PRs. And then my brother had seizures, but his medication made all of that well controlled. When I was a freshman in high school, my brother was a freshman in college, and the college he went to had a video production department, and they were really weird, like the videos. It was still an extremely credible film school, but you could do the weirdest thing. So my brother did this really weird video, and I'm not going to go into detail about it because let's just face it, it was really weird. So I remember I needed to do something in the video production room. So I shot a message to the film teacher that I emailed him like, oh, I'll come in around this time if that's okay. Okay. So I walk in and there's a class going on, but it's another high school class. So they're just kind of editing and all this stuff. And then while I'm there, one student goes, who here has seen Tyler Rowland's new video? I could have just died, because I remember when my brother sent it to me, I was like, this is so embarrassing. Please don't send this to anybody. And he was like, okay, I won't. But then he made it his Facebook status and everybody saw it. So I remember though, the film teacher goes, golly, I just made an announcement. I told you she was coming and not to bring it up. So obviously he saw it too. Subscribe if you want to join the fam bam, because by now you gotta. That's crazy if you watched all this and you haven't yet. I love you. I mean it. Bye.